This is Love Notes, daily devotions from Holy Trinity Lutheran Church. Grace and peace to you. Well, after just a few verses of chapter 25, where Bildad has, in this third dialogue, denigrated all of humanity in an effort to denigrate Job, Job can't handle it anymore, and so he interrupts. This dialogue has devolved into an argument, and Job isn't going to hear any more of it. So he interrupts Bildad, and he says, "How you have helped one who has no power." It's a sarcastic statement, a biting statement. Isn't that helpful, Bildad? You've just called me a worm, if you remember yesterday's devotion. You've told me that I am a maggot from yesterday's devotion. Thank you so much for helping me. That's what Job seems to be saying. How you have assisted the arm that has no strength. You haven't. You've done nothing to prop me up. How you have counseled one who has no wisdom and given much good advice. Sarcasm. I have wisdom, Job is saying, and you have not given one whit of good advice. With those help you have uttered words, and whose spirit has come forth from you? That's the telling question. Whose spirit is really coming out? Is it the Spirit of God and wisdom? Or is it Bildad's own spirit, his own hatred of himself? Isn't Bildad now working for the accuser who's trying to strip Job even of his humanity? The accuser was limited by God, remember. Take his things, take his health, but leave Job alone in his person and his existence. But Bildad, Bildad is speaking in the spirit of evil as he takes away even the humanity of Job and all people who suffer. We're just maggots and worms. Now, in verse 5, there's a real question about who's talking here. On the one hand, it may be that Job continues. If that is the case, it's supported by the fact that many of the things that are said here are echoed in things that Job has said before. And Job may be mocking Bildad some more, and that makes sense. On the other hand, this does kind of continue Bildad's argument. Bildad's argument, of course, is that good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people, and God is great enough to do that. The trouble is, as we read through this, we're not sure exactly which is which. I've come to the conclusion personally that this is Job who continues to speak. It's not Bildad who starts to push. It's Job who now mocks Bildad and all his arguments. As ham-handed and crude as Bildad was in his opening remarks, now the ideas of Bildad from Job's lips are given beauty. They're given form. They're given some creative power. Job seems to be saying, if it is Job speaking, I know all the stuff that you've said. And so he continues. Yeah, the shades below tremble, the waters and their inhabitants. Sheol is naked before God, and Abaddon, a place of nothingness, has no covering. He stretches out Zaphon over the void and hangs the earth upon nothing. In other words, I know all these things, and Job reveals that he speaks about it more eloquently than even Bildad can. Job is basically, I think, saying to Bildad, yada, 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 yada. Everybody knows these things, but in order to do with those things what Bildad does, Job isn't going to participate in denigrating humanity. Job is mocking Bildad. It is true that God is above and beyond all things. Job doesn't argue with that. It is true that God creates things and the mysteries are too wondrous for us. Job knows that's true. In other words, Bildad, tell me something I don't know. Duh. How does that help? How are you helping me? And the answer is, he isn't helping at all. So perhaps the lesson of the 26th chapter here, where Job answers, has had enough, is that the suffering should not be dismissed as being stupid. Bildad's mistake is that Job doesn't know God. But as we're seeing by this point in the book, Job seems to know God a lot better than his friends do. Let's be careful when we try to instruct those who suffer, because they probably know God a little bit better than we do in their suffering. Amen.